Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the number one source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter. Fine folks, this is Freedom Fighter. How's everybody doing? It is Saturday, August the 31st, 2024. Welcome to Saturday Night Dialogues. Tonight is going to be an epic call. Trust me when I tell you. There are several articles that we are going to discuss, but I hope that everyone has a pen and something to write in a piece of paper, because this is going to be a call that's going to really stick out to every last one of you for many different reasons. We have some special guests that we're going to talk to before the call kicks off. But first, we're going to get right into my brother Jester. Are you here? Okay, I see you.
I am here. Yes.
How you doing, young man?
I'm doing all right.
You feeling good?
Well, yeah. It's been a long week, and I'm a little tired, but I think I'm ready for this. So there you go.
I can hear it hear it in your voice. I know when I talked to you earlier, you were running around crazy. I know you've been in the sun for the most part of the week, and I know you're a little beat down.
Working out of us, it'll beat up a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right. So let's jump right into it, because I don't want to keep you too long. But knowing you, you might get your second win during Q&A. All right, let's jump into some prayer. Father God, we thank you one more time for allowing us to be here in your presence. We ask that you guide us, protect us, lead us, and allow us, Father God, to allow Jester and I to be able to bring forth the message tonight so that we can make an impact on everyone that listens to this call. We ask that you guide our tongues, our hearts, our minds, and we ask that you lay your precious grace and mercy upon everyone also that is on this call. Whether they have questions, they have comments, we ask that you allow them to open their minds and their hearts so that they can receive the facts and the message that we will bring forth to them tonight. In your precious name we pray. Amen. All right. Real quick, some few announcements. As we always do, I'm going to go over those quick announcements. Oh, real quick, folks, when we get to Q&A, please remember to ask questions. And we're very fortunate to have Jester here with us, of course, as always. And he loves the Q&A. I love Q&A. But please ask questions, because we have limited time, especially with Jester being tired tonight. We don't want to have people during Q&A having a diatribe and being on a platform of talking too much, but ask your questions. All right. Of course, real quick, Goldilocks QFS Dialogue is open from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Saturday. And then also, you want to come in, you can ask questions. We are there to help you. If you have questions on Goldilocks articles, the QFS, the reset, we are there. And then do not forget, of course, Jester's Place which is open from Monday through Friday from 8 to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then on Saturdays at 8 p.m. right before this call at 9. And then also, don't forget, we have Higher Learning, which is on Thursdays. That's with Anastasia and myself, and that's 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then also D's room is open 24/7. D posts a ton of articles and information into her room. She has an amazing relationship with so many powerful people within the global community for the GCR. And then last but not least, we have Goldilocks Global Banking News, the daily podcast on YouTube, whereby you can come and get all of the articles broken down in a podcast that are presented by Goldilocks as well. All right. And so don't forget. So that's Goldilocks Global Banking News, Higher Learning, D's Room, Jester's Place, and Goldilocks QFS Dialogues. All right. Now, is Brunette? Oh, before I get to that, Brunette Grant, I just surprised I'm gonna come to you. But just so you know, tonight we're going to go over Russia, what they're doing next month, as far as ditching the U.S. dollar for oil transactions. This is a very, very momentous occasion. It's very powerful. Then we're going to talk about foreign currency exchanges and what is coming down the pipe that Goldilocks is sharing with us. Then we're going to talk about Iraq's visit to the U.S. and then Basel III and the beginnings.
Roro. Hey, big guy. I don't know if you can hear me, but we have lost the audio.
I don't hear him either.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, you're back there now.
Here we go.
Good.
All right. Thank you. Last but not least, we're gonna discuss the Treasury direct accounts. This is something that Jester and probably only Jester has been the only one discussing how important Treasury direct is and how our accounts moving forward after we exchange in the new banking system, how it's all going to be connected with through the Treasury direct accounts. Jester's been talking about that for quite some time, and also Goldilocks even posted today giving Jester a shout out because in my discussion that Jester has been the only one literally out there talking about this, and now Goldilocks is seeing the articles and the proof confirming what Jester has been saying, and Goldilocks shared that, and in the next couple of days there may be some more coming from Goldilocks on that as well. What I would like to do, Brunette Grand, we have a surprise for you, and Wiley, are you here? If you guys can unmute. Okay.
I'm here.
Okay, beautiful. I see you. And then Wiley, if you can unmute. There you go.
Hey, Freedom. How you doing this evening?
Good. How are you?
I'm excellent.
Good. I know that you had a little surprise for Brunette Grant and I believe all of us, and I think so, right?
Yeah. Brunette Grant, I understand that you took that list, you took it upon yourself, and you sent that to your wealth management team. And I know they're going to be getting that back to you here, hopefully sometime next week. And if you would like, myself and Freedom will host a call with you to talk about that and kind of what you heard back. And that's completely in your court if you'd like to do that and kind of explain what you got from that experience.
Oh, that sounds great. I'd be more than happy to do that.
Well, once you get that back, you let me and Freedom know. We'll get something set up, and we can talk about that on an open call.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Wiley. Thank you, Brunette Grant, as well. For those that may not know, Brunette Grant established a great relationship with her wealth manager and the private client representative several months ago, and after last week, when Wiley did a call on the questions to ask a wealth manager, lo and behold, not to anyone's surprise, Brunette Grant took those questions and sent them as an email to her wealth manager, and they're working on getting the answers for her and getting back to her. And so, in fact, Brunette Grant, I'll let you speak for yourself. You can unmute Brunette Grant. Did I get that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yes, I went and and I didn't miss a question either. I think I took the whole list. I took the whole list, sent him an email. I CC'd it to also the private client banker as well, so they both got it. And then I also made a phone call, I believe, the next morning, and he said yes. He said, "Oh, hi, how are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, you remember, huh?" Because it was been a little bit before I've been in there before. So he said, "Oh yeah, I got the message," and he said, "I'd be more than happy to go over those questions and get the answers for you." And he says, "Do you need it right away?" And I said, "Well, just let me know at your convenience." I said, "I would like thorough, answers." And he said, "Well, I'll definitely give you thorough answers." And there was something else. Oh, yeah, he did ask me. He goes, "Well, what would you like to get out of all of this?" And I said, "I tell you what, one thing. I do not want to be broke in 4 to 5 years, okay?" I said, you know the lottery winners and people like that. I said, "So I would like for you to, so we can go over everything and all the elements to where that will never happen to me ever." He goes, "Oh, well, I'll make that happen." I will make that happen with all the plans that I have. Yeah, that will never happen. I said, "Okay."
Beautiful. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And folks, that is because Brunette Grant, we in the other room, Brunette, we started the process of helping people and educating our members to establish a relationship. And large in part, it was, even though Wiley was already gone from the other room, large in part, the reason why that I began to press the issue in trying to help members to learn the importance of establishing a relationship is because I remember that this is something that Wiley had talked about a while back before he left the other room. Well, I wouldn't say left, but after he was removed from the other room. And so with my experience in the banking industry when I was in international finance, I already had an idea of what on the inside they're looking for, and I knew how they should be approached. So I took some of that information and that knowledge and combined it with what Wiley has been sharing for a while in establishing relationships. And then lo and behold, Brunette Grant and several of our members followed suit and did the same thing and are getting the same similar results with establishing a relationship with the people that they're going to be exchanging with. All right. So thank you, Brunette Graham. Appreciate that, young lady. And before we get into the articles, I have someone that I have asked to be on this call tonight. This young lady, before we get into the articles, I'm going to introduce. Some of you may not know who she is. Some of you already know who she is. Her name is Anastasia Angel. This is if it hadn't been for her, Freedom Fighter wouldn't be Freedom Fighter. It was Anastasia that introduced me to the RV in 2013. She's a life coach. And the way I met her, a lot of you already know how I did, but I want to make it very clear and bring it to a holistic picture of how and why it is known to us that the relationship in the tribe, the team, the leadership that consists of Goldilocks, Jester, Wiley, Dee, Anastasia, myself, is because 13 years ago, this young lady introduced me to the dinar. And then what I didn't realize at the time that it was going to be such a life-changing moment, not about the dinar per se, but about the spiritual journey that after meeting her that I would be embarked on. I met her. I didn't meet her in person initially. It was actually online when I had did some research on looking for spiritual work to help myself spiritually. And so it's funny, I tell people then, and they know about this, is that, I knew that I needed some spiritual work. I wanted to evolve spiritually. And I knew that it was something that I wanted to do and needed to do because in my mind, I wanted to be prepared for this wealth that I knew I would eventually be blessed with. And it's funny because after the first week of talking to Anastasia, when we were scheduled to do some spiritual cleansing or clearing, as she called it. She's in California. I was living in Maryland at the time. And we're on the phone. I'm in my bedroom. The light is on. And she's getting ready to start this spiritual work. And she starts telling me how to breathe, how to calm my mind, how to prepare myself so that she can help me with this spiritual work. It's going to take like an hour or two. And she said, "Oh, wait a minute. Before we start, you need to turn your light off in your bedroom." And I'm looking around my room like, how does she know this? How does she know my light's on? But I said, "How did you know?" She says, "Well, it's called astro travel." She asked, she can astral travel and saw that my light was on and turned the light off. And for me to turn the light off. No, she didn't turn the light off. I turned it off. But I was like, now, if she turned the light off from California, I might would have ran out the room and called 911. But I didn't have to. But it was there. I'm going to fast forward to around 2016 when I flew to New Mexico to meet Anastasia in person, because by the time she moved there were some spiritual entities that were attempting to attack me. They didn't want me alive, and they didn't want me to be a part of this event, the RV. I was a threat. And Anastasia, when we were in New Mexico together at her place, we got a visit from some higher beings. And then also they had let Anastasia know that there were some beings that really wanted me gone. And they didn't want me to be around to have any sort of role in helping people to learn about the RV. So Anastasia did another clearing, and she actually did some spiritual clearing, and I began to see these beings leaving from around me because she cleared them out. She was like my protector. Now I remember it was like she was like in the ethereal world. I'm saying this. She was like a dragon protecting me, and she's been protecting me ever since, even when I didn't have the means to protect myself. And I think about as it pertains to the RV, because it was known that these beings didn't want me around. I began asking Anastasia questions about, well, who's involved with the RV and part of the decisions. She looked into the spirit world, and she had told me that there was a very powerful Chinese lady who was an heir of the dragon family. And she described this Chinese lady, physically described her, and even could see where she was located because she can astral travel. And lo and behold, fast forward to 2023. Before I go there, back to 2000, there was one person in dinar land that was constantly saying, we need a new financial system. We need a new government. We need a new republic. When many others were saying it was happening every weekend. And that one person was Jester. He was in dinar land when I got involved. Not too long after I started hearing him talk, he disappeared. Fast forward to 2023, in the other room, I was introduced to Jester. And Jester was asked to come back out of exile, if you will. And he was asked to come back by Wiley. And now, here we are, Wiley, Jester, myself, Goldilocks, D, Anastasia, all together. Also, in 2023, not long after I met Jester, I don't know how it came up in conversation, but Jester had mentioned one of the major decision makers was a Chinese lady, a part of the Dragon family, one of the decision makers for the RVGCR. Jester and Anastasia have never met. And at that time, they never talked to each other. I introduced them on the phone, but I wanted to share that with you all to understand that each and every one of you, whether you are on this call or listening to this recording, you are divine beings. This is a part of your destiny to participate in this wealth transfer. It is your inheritance. There's no coincidence that you are a part of the 1%. There are so many people that have no clue about this, but you do. Whether you are advanced in your knowledge or not, every last one of you are special. Now, as it pertains to Anastasia, I learned all of what I understand about this process in the RVGCR because she taught me so much. This is a spiritual RV before it is a financial RV. But I asked her to in the beginning to be here to have some time to let you all know who she is, because I felt it was time to really let it be known how, for a large scale, for y'all to know who she is, because only some of you do, and how I value her and the relationship that we have. She's protected me when it was people, jobs, places. I've sought her advice and guidance on certain things, how to do certain things, what to do. Her ability to read things about people that they may not even know themselves. She helped me to navigate shark-filled waters and jobs that I was at, places that I was in, people that I was around. And even in this journey of the RV, and I'm going to be very straightforward, even in the other room, she had told me almost a month in advance that Jester and I would be leaving to start our own journeys, our own rooms, almost a month in advance. And this is a very, very spiritual event. But I want to say this, and I normally don't go to this extent of dealing with certain things, but this is why I asked her to be on, because I guess I'm in my feelings a little bit because I love her so much. And she warned me, and this is the first time some of you are going to hear this, but it's time. And then we're going to get into the call and the details of these articles, but it's all related. She warned me about, I'm going to say pepper. I'm not going to say the other. You know, you can put salt and you can put pepper on your food. I'm going to say pepper because she can see energy. She also warned me about a former admin as well. A lot of you don't know, but despite the fact that I am very loving, very kind, and I show unconditional love, I'm also not confrontational. I avoid engaging negativity. She even warned me about a former admin over there where Pepper and the admin, when I was removed, went on a bashing campaign against me. They went on a bashing campaign against Goldilocks. Went on a bashing campaign against Anastasia. Went on a bashing campaign against Sam. These are my friends and I love them. Just like if someone did the same thing to Jester, I guarantee you the nice, kind Freedom will put that on the shelf for a little bit to show another side, because I will stand up and protect Jester. That's how much love I have for him. So even this former admin in that other room, when I had to remove someone in the room who was being very disruptive, this former admin says, let me send you a DM, and they get on the phone with that member for 2 hours and want to bash Freedom. Lo and behold, not realizing that same member is now in this room under a different name and gave me the whole details of the conversation. When I was removed, making up stories about me, telling her and Pepper that I was on doctor's leave and told them how sick I was. It was all BS. In front of everyone in the room, it was nice and kind and good morning, Freedom. Hello, Freedom. Behind the scenes, it was daggers in my back. But lo and behold, it was Anastasia that prepared me. So I was able to guard myself. And I don't like talking about these things, but I had to. Same former, and I know she's on this call under a different name, but there's a time and a place for everything. Tonight is the time I had to bring this out. The same person is over in Jester's room, same agenda of befriending everyone. It's all an agenda. One thing I've learned is, yes, to be in unconditional love, but I learned to also set boundaries. That was something that Anastasia taught me to protect myself, because I'm not one to protect myself. There's nothing wrong with having boundaries. There's nothing wrong with being in unconditional love. But as each and every one of you embark on this wealth and this journey, you must learn to also set boundaries to protect yourself, because there will be entities and people that are going to come for you. And God knows I'm a witness of people coming for me. But I have broad shoulders. And thank God I have people that genuinely are around me, that love me and will protect me. That's Anastasia. And I know Jester had an opportunity when Pepper tried to have him stab me in the back, but that man wouldn't do it. And I'm forever grateful to Jester. So, Anastasia is here, and I want to thank her for always protecting me. I want to thank her for warning me and showing me how to also protect myself and set boundaries. Because if it wasn't for her, not only would I not be here, but when I died in Mexico on March the 8th, 2023, I came back. I was in Mexico for 3 months trying to learn how to walk again, how to move my limbs. When I came back to the U.S. in Atlanta, I had to be admitted for 3 more weeks. The first person I called when I was discharged was Anastasia. And after she did spiritual work on me to protect me and begin my healing process, standing in the lobby of the hospital, she told me that she got a hit about the RV, and that when I'm ready and I'm in the process of healing, that I can begin looking into the RV to do my work. She and I were told 6 years ago that we would meet a group of people for an assignment near the time that the RV is ready. Those people is Jester, Goldilocks, D, Lady E, as well. We are not your average beings. And you are not average. None of you. And I wanted to bring Anastasia on briefly to introduce her to you, so that I can share with you the one who started me on this journey, who's been protecting me even when I didn't have the means to protect myself. And I just want to share that publicly, to make this public declaration to her, because there would be no freedom fighter and connected to all of you if it wasn't for her. Anastasia, are you here?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I know you wasn't prepared for me. You didn't didn't have an idea of what I was going to say. But I asked you
No.
to be on. But I asked you to be on this call for a reason. I don't know if you have anything to say behind what I said, but I have a question for you. But if there's anything you have to say, the floor is yours.
Want to say hi, everybody, and oh my gosh, thank you, Freedom. You are making me cry. I love you. Bottom
And I
line.
love you. Mm-hmm.
And in there, wow, I can't even talk. There are energies out there that will try to prohibit you from doing your destiny and there are energies that will support you, and you are a bright, shining star with a beacon, and every one of us on this call has a beacon, and we're bright and we're shining. And so we just have to always protect ourselves from anything that would keep us from our destiny. So, yeah.
Quick question for you
Yeah.
before I let you go, before we're going
Yeah.
to get into this call. What, 6 years ago, you were told by higher beings that I would get to this point to meet these amazing people and bring you right before the RV. We learned that it's Jester, Goldilocks, Wiley, D. My question to you is, why now? I mean, of course it's the obvious, but I'm very inquisitive, and there's always more. Why now? Why? And when you think of how, and I'm gonna share this with you, Anastasia, you don't know this, but it was Jester and Wiley, and you may not. I think you know who Wiley is. It was Jester and Wiley. Jester and Wiley, 10 plus years ago, both were, for lack of a better term, ran out of dinar land because they were telling the truth. But now, full circle, Anastasia, these two gentlemen are reunited and connected and then it's the collective along with Goldilocks. Indeed. Why now with these wonderful people?
The reason is, there's several reasons. One of the reasons is because we were all supposed to come together to be able to teach the listeners of how to manage things, giving advice, which, obviously free will, they can take it or not. But we are all here gathered together. It's a tribe. It's a soul tribe to help other people. And we're helping other people before the RV so that they're prepared and ready so that they don't make the common mistakes that some people may make when they come in to a lot of money. So we are all here with compassionate hearts and love for all of the listeners, because we really care. All of us care. And we care in truth. We care in truth, not in falsehoods or lies. We care in truth. And that is very rare. That is very rare. And so, that's really the main reason why we're here.
Right. What I'm looking more so at as well, in addition to that, is not how, but it's no coincidence that Jester and Wiley, being two of the most prolific truth tellers years ago, ran out of dinar land, but they're now back together.
Because it's called justice. It's called karmic justice. They needed justice for all what they were trying to do. And these entities were fueling the fire and didn't want them in the mix because they were telling the truth. Mm-hmm. And so all these years later, they get a chance to be heard, mm-hmm. to tell the truth and not be bashed. And not be bashed for being who they are, which are beautiful, compassionate people who care about other people. So it's their justice in particular. It's their justice right now for what they get to do.
Mm-hmm. Got it. All right, beloved. Folks, I'm going to, if you got a pen, something to write with, I'm going to leave you all with Anastasia's contact number. Reach out to her for guidance, for assistance on many levels. Her number is 916-432-7018. 916-432-7018. Anastasia Angel, who is my angel, who, if she wasn't who she is, guiding me. Oh my God, you've guided me so much and protected me. Yeah, you helped me dodge so many bullets.
Here, this is what I'll do. I'll post a very short meditation for it's like about 15 minutes long, and that will start protecting everyone from any harm in any way.
Right.
So I'll do that as soon as I can.
Okay. Thank you. I know you may have to go because you got other things you got to do, but you made a sacrifice to be here so that I can share you with all these people that I love. I want to share you as well.
Thank you. I totally appreciate it. And I love you. I love you all.
Love you too.
Bye.
Take care. All right. We're going to jump into these amazing, powerful articles. Jester, you ready, my good brother?
Where's my signal?
I'm sorry. I forgot. I did just kind of jump right into it. Jester, you ready?
I'm like, who?
My
Keep talking to me.
Man, I just want you to know also, brother, I appreciate you and love you for who you are. You're an amazing, and I'm glad to share this space with you.
You know what? It goes both ways. He's my brother, so it is what it is.
Yep.
And Wiley, too. So, it is what I wouldn't be anywhere else. This is a good place.
Yes, sir.
Hey, I'm sorry to interrupt, guys.
Go ahead, brother.
Chime in on you?
Absolutely.
I don't know if people know Freedom, but you got the biggest heart I've ever seen.
Oh, thank you.
It makes me sad because I know what you went through. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And we have a saying in the Rangers: "You'll never leave a man behind." I'll never leave you behind.
I appreciate that.
So,
thank you so much. I appreciate you. All right, folks, we're going to jump right into this first powerful article out of Russia. This is an announcement. Russia to use cryptocurrencies for international trade amid Western sanctions next month, September. This is huge. This is huge because this is the official ditching of the dollar by Russia. This is the official ditching of the petrodollar by Russia. Many other countries will also follow suit and do the same thing. Russia plans to create stablecoins for the Chinese yuan in the BRICS currency basket. This will create new alliances towards Eastern trade and begin the separation for the use of the US dollar in trade. In September, Russia will begin using cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin for international trade. This will help them avoid Western sanctions and begin the process of resetting the global economy. Russia's shift towards digital trade will begin the process of utilizing local currencies around the world. This is meaning countries will begin to utilize their own currencies around the world. This is a linchpin, if you will, of that process beginning, especially because the US dollar is the world reserve that currency and is also the petrodollar. This is the beginning of the end, if you will, of the US dollar dominating countries around the world, allowing their own local currencies, allowing them to use their own currencies for oil and also for trade. This is how the supply and demand take shape to begin bringing values, real values, to not only digital assets, but also paper assets and paper currencies. Goldilocks continues. It will begin to lessen dependence on the dollar for trade in countries who choose to follow Russia's lead. We are in the beginning stages of leveling the playing field in currencies around the world. Shifts in power and use of money flows will begin to create demands, and new demands will create price pressures on the currencies around the world, of which many that we hold. These price pressures eventually show up in currencies and their values. This move, along with corporate giants moving towards Ripple, will begin to have a profound effect on the dollar as a shift in global economic preferences begin to form new alliances. What Goldilocks is referring to here is where Goldilocks shared earlier in the week, 20% of the institutional investors, which are the largest money players in the world, are pumping in their money into Ripple and utilizing Ripple. For those that may not know, when it comes to the dong, the dinar, and any currency that you can think of, in order for it to move in the QFS, it will be through Ripple, the Ripple network. In April of this year, yes, Iraq announced they went live with Ripple partner Temenos. So when you have here, Goldilocks is sharing what Russia is doing, where this move, along with these institutional investors and these corporate giants moving towards Ripple, do not discount this in any way, shape, or form, because it is Ripple. How, even when we are going to exchange our currencies in the QFS, is by way of Ripple via ISO 222 XRP. That is how many want to know when, but it's also to your advantage to know how. The when is the date, many want to know, but some don't want to know how your exchange is going to happen. Some want to know when the exchange is going to happen, but I don't care how it's going to happen, but you should, because this is how you obtain that long-term wealth in your knowledge. Just like Brunette Grand said earlier, when she communicated with the wealth manager at the bank, when she sent the questions that Wiley shared on the questions to ask a wealth manager, because she told them she wanted to be able to maintain her wealth and not go broke in 5 years. Because she's not so concerned about when, because she can see it by following the articles that Goldilocks is sharing, by following what Jester is sharing. But the how, she knows. She knows the how is Ripple. She knows the how is via XRP, the how of how the exchanges are going to happen. When you put together the how, you're prepared for the when it's going to happen, because you know how it's going to happen. And Goldilocks has been sharing how it's going to happen for quite some time. So this is on Russia, what they're doing next month. Huge. In fact, Jester and I talked about this during the week because it's such a powerful article and information. And I guess that's a cue for me to let Jester know I'm coming to him and not just going straight to him. It's just
Thank you. All right, that's good. Now, here's the thing. Man, there's a lot to this. I mean, we talked last week about Russia being in the forefront of the implementation of the ISO 222, which was kind of freaked me out when I learned it. And I thought, well, there's going to be more of this, and now here it is. And I'm starting to pull together a theory. And a lot of people say, wow, there's a lot going on here. And, I mean, all these little pieces that Goldilocks keeps bringing forth as additions to the puzzle that we're looking into, and the picture that we're liking to build with the QFS and all of that. Countries with the level playing field and such. And I'm thinking, if you look back at some of this stuff, you think, wow, they keep using the whole sanction business with Russia to institute things to go around their sanctions, right? I mean, that's what this is.
Right. Yeah.
This whole thing right here is basically about mitigating the effects of the sanctions.
Correct.
And they're going to facilitate transactions that bypass, the traditional financial systems like SWIFT and that. So, and they can't be influenced by, sanctions. So this is interesting enough. So now you got to ask yourself, what's the real deal? So, because there's the excuse, and now you can see that there's a reason for it, but I'm not sure that there's not something else going on here. I'll bet you big money that this move here is part of the big picture, and you're going to see other people get right on with this when it comes down. And this is probably going to tie into some XRP move or something like that along the way. And I just think this is how they're moving these. It's like a chess match, and they're just moving these pieces into place. We can't exactly know what their strike is going to be, but we know they're getting close to it. You know what I mean?
Right. It's obvious that they are setting the stage.
That's it.
You know what I mean? And just waiting for the to open the curtain.
Yeah, I think they're picking up a list of things that's got to be done.
Right.
And I told you a couple of years ago or whenever it was that we were told that there was a specific architecture that was designed for all this to happen. And a very, very complex and very innovative plan to pull all this off. And what I think we're seeing here is the little pieces of it get ticked off on a regular basis, and Goldilocks is throwing them all out there, and at some point in time they're all going to come together. This is all going to make a great deal of sense when it happens. I think I see where we're headed now. And of course I'm not afraid to say so, but it's amazing the parts. Of course, nobody's. Why wouldn't this be news? I mean, you think about this for a second. I mean, we get a couple little articles out here, and if you're not really looking for them, you're not going to see them anywhere.
You're not going to see them, yeah.
I mean, we're probably, us and people like us are the only people on the planet that know what's going on. It's the truth. You know what I mean?
But you make a very, very good point. In fact, you said something that Goldilocks shared with me as well, which is in regards to these articles. They're written so that we don't know.
Right.
It's these articles are intentionally put out in order for the layman and the average person to not even give it any attention, to know how they're putting it all together. But fortunately, in fact, we have Goldilocks that puts it all together and shows us. And then you come along and confirm it with your relationships with the U.S. Department of Treasury. So
well, I think Goldilocks is just doing the confirming, but that's another story.
Confirming by showing it in writing. Yeah. Yep.
So, well, I mean, you think about it for a minute. I mean, we see this. If you saw this article out by itself and we weren't doing what we're doing, you'd be like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Look right past it.
It wouldn't make any sense. It wouldn't have any context. It wouldn't fit anywhere. You know what I mean? Okay, so Russia's going to use some crypto. Who cares? And so they put this article out. And it makes sense on its own. But there's something else here. I'm telling you that they don't have a need to actually do this. But we'll see how it goes. I think I think you're going to see this catch on. Mark my
Absolutely.
words.
Absolutely. And when I think about what you just said, I even think of it catching on with, of course, Russia being part of the BRICS, and Russia being the host of the BRICS for the next term. It won't be no surprise if the other BRICS nations follow suit and do the same thing.
Well, does it seem odd to anybody else that Russia's kind of in the forefront of everything? I mean, it said they were that article that I picked up about them in the 222 was huge. They were a pioneer implementation of the whole thing.
That's true. Yeah,
Think about this for a second. That is very unexpected, and Russia's in the forefront of a lot of these things.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, I remember back in the day, I said, we better watch out for Russia because they're going to be coming on. I bet you $10. Here we are.
$10.
Wish I'd have bet more on that one.
All right. Cool. We're going to jump right into the next one, folks, and this is on 24-hour. Now, FOREX is already 24/7 based on different time zones, but this here that Goldilocks is sharing is gives a whole nother perspective and a whole nother level of currency exchanges. And here we have, for those of you who have been paying attention, yet another new rule being implemented, documented, recorded in the Federal Register. Not only has Goldilocks been sharing so much about the Federal Register, but others as well. But particularly in October, it'll go effective into the Federal Register, the new foreign currency exchange tax regulations passed down by the IRS, which is under the U.S. Department of Treasury. Also in October, the regulations recorded into the Federal Register for banks as it pertains to foreign currency exchanges as well. There's been so much over the last several months that Goldilocks has been sharing. And again, this is something that most people may not be paying attention to. But when something goes into the Federal Register, folks, it's actual laws and regulations that's edged in stone. So here we have the 24X National Exchange. And it's the application status. The 24X National Exchange LLC is expected to be published by the Securities and Exchange Commission on September the 3rd inside the Federal Register. This is with the Securities and Exchange Commission. What are currencies around the world being registered with? The Securities and Exchange Commission. What did the Iraqi dinar by the end of May 31st? Actually, it was May 31st of this year. What did they register the dinar with? The Securities and Exchange Commission. Why and how? Well, it came from Iraq, and it was shown on the CBI that Goldilocks shared with us, where Iraq reclassified the dinar from a category C note to a category A and B, which also was in connection to, yes, Western Union and MoneyGram. We're going to touch on that later. But for those of you who have been paying attention to what Goldilocks has been sharing on what Iraq has been doing with the dinar and registering it, you're going to see tonight, last week and tonight, where Goldilocks is sharing the final pieces of that puzzle. And it's coming directly from the CBI. But here we have 24X registered into the Federal Register, published by the SEC. A published rule by government is considered a regulation, Goldilocks is sharing, that is officially released and made available to the public, typically through the Federal Register, which is the official journal of the U.S. government, where new rules and regulations are first published. Folks, this is official. Just like, and even what Jester just said a few minutes ago about the last article, these are things that people wouldn't pay attention to. Not in the news media. Goldilocks continues. These rules are then compiled into the Code of Federal Regulations, which is CFR, for easy access and reference. So anyone can come back and look at any rule regulation because it's registered into the Federal Register. It's documented into the Federal Register. 24X, National Exchange LLC, the company that is developing a new approach of trading technology and market hours. 24X is for 24/7. Proposed platform will be the first, and this is key, the first fully electronic exchange in the United States to allow trading of securities. Don't forget, currency is now securities. This will be 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I won't go into all of the details, but I'm going to skip down to where it says Section 6A of the Securities Exchange Act of 1934 permits the trading of foreign currency options on national securities exchange. Foreign currency futures and options can also be traded on designated contract markets or derivatives, transactions, execution facilities. This is connecting, folks, not only our foreign currencies, but also the banks for which are execution facilities for foreign currency exchanges, because it is at a bank that executes foreign currency exchanges. Bottom line, Goldilocks says this is the first of many approved digital national exchange platforms that will be rolling onto the new quantum financial system. Then Goldilocks shares the actual ruling that will come down and be effective on September the 3rd. If you have a chance, click on the first link now or later in the Federal Register. It's right there. And then Goldilocks provides several other supportive links, including from the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission. This is folks, you are witnessing the how we're going to be able to exchange, that behind the scenes, the building blocks, the infrastructure. Jester builds houses. He knows all about infrastructure, and he knows all about building. This is the building stages of us moving into an opportunity for our exchange to be on the QFS. And then, of course, we already touched on Ripple and XRP that will actually move our currencies, our paper currencies, through the system, through the QFS, digitally. So here we have a new 24/7, 365 digital platform in the U.S. And actually, we're not going to jump right into the next article, but when we do, you're going to see the connection with Iraq as well. So before we do, I'm going to ask my good brother Jester if he wants to touch on anything here.
No, I think that's covered pretty well, to be honest with you. I mean, this is a cool deal, though. I mean, this is going to open some things up that I think there's going to be a lot of action on this. I know that the traders, I know they do over the counter and stuff like that now, but having a live exchange to trade on, this is going to open up a lot of opportunities for people to do that sort of thing. I think this will be fun.
Absolutely. Excellent. Now, folks, I just dropped into the room. This is in relation to the meeting that the CBI, the Central Bank of Iraq, had last Monday here in the United States with the U.S. Department of Treasury, the Federal Reserve, and certain banks. It's funny because there was articles that came out last week talking about this meeting, saying that it was an unannounced visit. The Central Bank of Iraq makes an unannounced visit to the U.S. to meet with the U.S. Department of Treasury. Lo and behold, For those that may have forgotten, last Saturday, in fact, I posted into the room earlier. Last Saturday, on the Saturday night call, we actually shared about that meeting that Iraq was going to have with the CBI. And as well, weeks before that, I almost slipped and said it on a call. But this was not an unannounced visit. This was very much planned in advance. Here it is. Iraq just visited the United States on August 26th through the 29th. It was a high-level negotiating team. That term is very, very important for you to understand. I'll get coming back to it. It was a high-level negotiating team. What were they negotiating? It was a high-level negotiating team that met with J.P. Morgan Chase, the U.S. Department of Treasury, the Federal Reserve, Visa, MasterCard. Remember, Jester even touched on this several weeks ago, or last Saturday, when Goldilocks shared it with an article about RippleNet and the Fed now. Then here we go. MoneyGram. Western Union is missing out of this, but MoneyGram and Western Union is also part of that. Citibank, as well as an international auditing firms such as KPMG. E&Y is Ernst & Young, for those that may not know. E&Y is Ernst & Young, a global auditing firm, well respected. K2I and Oliver Wyman. Oliver Wyman is a global government consulting firm. Why would Iraq be meeting with these people? Specifically, I'm saying, why would the CBI be meeting with J.P. Morgan Chase? Well, who was it that helped the CBI help Iraq going back to 2012? Who was it? What bank helped the CBI and the government to build their new banking infrastructure and to become compliant with international standards? J.P. Morgan. The U.S. Treasury, of course. I call the daddy of the global RV. The Federal Reserve. Visa, MasterCard. MoneyGram. Folks, for those that may not know, when it comes to MoneyGram, you may know, why would Iraq be meeting? Why would they be talking to MoneyGram? Well, the reclassification of the dinar, and Goldilocks has shared has shared the articles relevant to this months ago. MoneyGram and also Western Union, when Iraq began the process of reclassifying the dinar from a category C to and leveling up to category A and B, it was in connection to and relevant to MoneyGram and Western Union. Why? Folks, what does MoneyGram and Western Union do? Don't they send money?
Money.
Huh?
Yep.
And now, when you send money, doesn't that money have to be converted from one currency to another? Are you connecting the dots? This is no coincidence. Now, negotiating team. I'm gonna say this as a question form. What if this negotiating team? What if they're negotiating currency rates? What if? I'm gonna say that as a question form. This is not the only meeting that they've had with high-level officials and banks. They've been traveling to different countries having these similar meetings. It's just been our turn in the U.S. for them to have this meeting. Goldilocks continues. One of the values of a meeting such as this include trade facilitation. Remember, how does currency move? By trade, across the water. International auditing standards help to facilitate trade and support economic growth. Every international negotiator knows how to factor currency rates into agreements with their foreign business partners. I'm going to read that again. Every international negotiator knows how to factor currency rates into agreements with their foreign business partners. Part of the discussion dealt with moving from an electronic platform to a virtual bank whereby a direct banking relationship can occur. When Goldilocks says this, I'm going to continue, then I'll come back. Direct banks, also known as branchless or virtual banks, offer their services online through mobile apps, email, and other electronic means. Through mobile apps, so that's mobile banking, virtual banks. This is a part of their negotiations and discussions that Iraq is having with who's your daddy, U.S. Treasury. When it comes to mobile apps, online banking, this is what's called bankless transactions, folks. This is where, and this is in my discussions with Goldilocks, confirming that this is the process of the separation from the U.S. The separation from the U.S.'s stronghold and control of Iraq from the Federal Reserve. When they're moving into branchless and virtual banks, mobile apps, mobile banking, there's no need for the Federal Reserve to be involved with Iraq. For example, here we use mobile apps and mobile banking every day. We don't even need to go to the bank for transactions. You may have a physical paper check that you want to deposit. All you got to do is take a picture of it, and it's deposited into your bank account. These are discussions that Iraq is having with JP Morgan Chase, the Treasury, and the Federal Reserve. I'm gonna say this as a question. What if Iraq is learning what if the CBI specifically is learning how to do these type of things, this modern technology with mobile banking? What if they're learning from JP Morgan Chase and others? Another portion of the conversation, Goldilocks says, moved towards international engagement through international correspondent banks, such as the SWIFT system provides. The SWIFT system, folks, remember, several months ago, Goldilocks shared an update by the Bank of International Settlements, which is the central bank of all central banks. So the State Bank of Vietnam, which is their central bank that controls the dinar, the dong, the CBI, the central bank for Iraq, which controls and oversees the dinar, and all the other central banks around the world for the currencies that some of you may hold. All those central banks are connected to the SWIFT system. Yes, we know it's been said for so long that, oh my God, SWIFT, they're going away. No, they're not. Every central bank is connected through SWIFT. They're just another alternative connected to the QFS. And the update that by the BIS, Bank of International Settlements, that Goldilocks shared with us, officially, I believe it was in June or July, where the SWIFT system migrated to ISO 222. So that means all banks around the world will be able to move their currencies through the banking system directly through SWIFT, yes, because they're ISO compliant. How do you think these exchanges are going to occur? So Goldilocks continues. A network of international correspondent banks is a complex system of financial institutions that work together to facilitate global transactions. Yes, this requires a stable exchange rate. This is speaking of Iraq. Yes, this requires a stable exchange rate that can be used between countries in trade and foreign currency exchange. These determinations are part of a supply and demand ratios factored in through trade. Goldilocks gives us a quick little update on this meeting. Another update. The people invited to this meeting was no accident. It was a negotiating team ready for action. It was a meeting to discuss the requirements necessary to open their accounts with international correspondent banks. Yes, for Iraq, the CBI to open their accounts with international correspondent banks. This is why I mentioned a few minutes ago that they've been traveling all over the world to meet different banks to learn best practices so that they can coordinate and collaborate with different international banks. This transition is expected to occur by the end of this year. This transition is expected to occur by the end of this year. This moves Iraq from a supervisory role with the United States to a more independent nation with their own rules and regulations to guide their financial agreements around the world. When Goldilocks says this moves Iraq from a supervisory role. What that means is that the supervisory role that the Federal Reserve had over Iraq, this is a process from where Iraq will become independent of the Federal Reserve in the United States. Goldilocks completes this article. Yes, this is the information we've been looking for a long time. Then Goldilocks shares the link. The first link is from the CBI, giving us the details of the meeting that was had with the CBI and the U.S. Department of Treasury, Federal Reserve, Visa, MasterCard, MoneyGram, Citibank. They didn't meet to have tea and crumpets. This was a working meeting with negotiations that were occurring or have occurred. And of course, it may be continuing as well. But keep in mind, this is also connected to the 24/7, 365 day a year, 24x national exchange that we just shared with you from the previous article. Iraq and every other currency is all connected. This is the building blocks moving towards the eventual event. And I'm being very careful with my words so no one thinks that, because the CBI is coming back from the U.S., all of a sudden expect a rate change. This is a process. And you can clearly see, if you're paying attention and try your best, folks, to stay away from hearing every weekend. If you're able to see and pay attention to the how things are being developed, it gives you a peace of mind and allows you to stay grounded, to be prepared for your exchange and prepare for this event. Before we go to the next one, I'm going to yield to my good brother Jester if he wanted to add anything onto this.
Sorry about that. I switched over to my phone so I could go get it.
Oh, no good.
Here we go.
Did you bring me some?
Oh yeah, I got one. I was thirsting to death, man. You were making me thirsty.
My bad.
That's all right. And this is a very complicated article, more complicated than people think. If you read through this thing, there's a lot to it, and I think you see the complexity of things that are happening here in this article right here. Is a good thing for Iraq, of course, and if they actually get to that point, that, like Goldilocks says, this is what we've been waiting for a minute, and that's a long, long time here that they'd actually finally get out from underneath the United States. We need that to happen at some point in time anyway. And I think it's going too soon. So this is a very good sign, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And what's not mentioned here that I'm aware of, that just came to my mind, is if you all see articles that talks about the currency auction window. That is a part of when it mentions about the end of this year, the currency auction window in Iraq. That is the what they call the black market. That's the illegal market in Iraq where the dinar is sold on the streets of Iraq, which actually it devalues the dinar in Iraq. And the currency auction, their technical term is currency auction window, but in a part of the white paper economic reform plan that was written by the late Dr. Shabibi in 2011-12, one of the last things that Iraq needs to do before they revalue the currency is to eliminate the currency auction window. And that is something that they are. So this process of removing themselves from the stronghold of the U.S. shows that they are getting to a point where they have stability, internal stability within Iraq for the dinar, which has to be within 2%. Within 2%, meaning 2% between the black market and the actual official rate of the dinar in Iraq must be within 2%. And they are, I believe, within that percentage right now. And then removing the currency auction window, which is the black market. So this is all coming together very well for Iraq. It is obvious that they are preparing. All right, now we're going to drop the next one, and we're going to jump right into Basel III and the beginning stages of the gold standard for large banks, particularly come October the 1st. This article also will connect to the Treasury Direct, which we can go into next. The Federal Reserve Board. Now here we go, folks, with another rule coming down the pipe. The Federal Reserve Board announces final individual capital requirements for all large banks effective October the 1st, 2024. This is, in the words of President Trump, huge. Earlier this year, the U.S. banks underwent several stress tests to determine the amount of capital requirements that would be required to be compliant under a Basel III regime. And folks, we know Basel III, we're talking about what's needed for the gold standard. The large banks have been required to fulfill these guidelines. They've been required to fulfill these guidelines. This is not something that's been happening overnight. This has been a process. But now we see October the 1st becomes effective. Goldilocks continues. Yes, gold is included in the Basel III bank capital requirements as a Tier 1 asset. Basel III. The Basel III Accord, implemented in 2019, requires banks to hold a significant portion of their capital in high-quality assets, including gold. And for those that may not know, there is a bank in the Middle East that has been following these capital requirements as well. There is a bank in the Middle East that actually, it was reported that this particular central bank is ranked, and when it comes to gold, high quality assets, Basel III compliant. There's a particular bank, the Central Bank of Iraq is ranked the 29th. Iraq is ranked number 29th in the world in global gold reserves, and they've been Basel III compliant. Goldilocks continues. Tier 1 capital is the most basic tier in measures of financial institutions' financial strength. It includes equity and common stock, allocated gold, unallocated gold. And the purpose, the Basel III reforms were designed to enhance banking stability and reduce the likelihood of defaults during economic downturns. So this is the protection mechanisms, the parachute, the soft landing to protect banks from a financial crisis. The U.S. is definitely prepared. These are for the large banks, October the 1st. We know some, maybe small, medium banks may not make it. They may end up being merged with some of the largest banks, but that's okay. In an earlier article about a month ago, Goldilocks talked about gold becoming a high quality asset. On October the 1st, this means that our large banks in the U.S. will be holding gold as reserves and considered a high quality asset. Furthermore, it means that these banks will be capable of utilizing sound money. I forget what member it was. Please forgive me. There was a member in the room that asked this specific question about a week or so ago about gold becoming sound money. I forget name, but if you're on this call, I did answer it for you in the room, but here you go, another confirmation that Goldilocks is sharing. We're gold becoming sound money. In other words, Goldilocks says, our large banks will be subject to utilizing hard currency, such as gold, as money. A gold standard is a financial system where the value of a country's currency is fixed in relation to a specific amount of gold or linked to the currency of a country that does so. I'm going to skip down to these new guidelines will allow us to become competitive with other countries in trades such as the BRICS system. Remember, we're actually behind on some of these countries, especially some of the BRICS nations. Goldilocks continues. It's our big banks that work with our markets the most, and these new protocols will allow them to meet new standards being applied in global trade. As these new banking guidelines go into effect on October the 1st, our banking system will be learning these new guidelines to fulfill new obligations being between themselves and us, the clients. From that point forward, we will have a new form of liquidity, which is cash flow, that will enable us to adapt to the coming changes taking place in our global economy. Then Goldilocks shares right from the Federal Reserve the actual link to this happening on October the 1st. Folks, I know many of you are on this call. You haven't heard this from any place else. Is this not something that you would imagine is so momentous and powerful that on October the 1st, new Basel III compliance for our banks and for gold, whereby I'm sure many of you already know, in order for us to be able to exchange, we're going into a new banking system, we must have gold to protect ourselves, protect our assets, to protect our exchanges, to protect our newfound wealth, to protect the new banking system. All banks around the world will be doing the same. And here we have, yet again, something that's not announced on the mainstream, lamestream media, but by Goldilocks, sharing this with you all, where you can click the link and you get a chance to read it for yourself, right from the Federal Reserve. This is the beginning stages of a gold standard, Basel III compliance. gold in our banks to make us competitive with other large banks around the world. Before we jump to the next one on Treasury Direct, I'm going to make sure that my good brother Jester, I'm sure he has something he wants to add on to this.
Oh, I'm not so sure. I mean, this is good stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong. This is in addition to the long line of requirements and rules and things that they're laying out to make everything work the way it's supposed to in the end. At first glance, none of these things seem to be getting it all done. But if you put them all together, then you see a much different picture. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I think, since it's like we've been talking about all along, the more little pieces we see, the more the big picture makes a great deal more sense. And the fact that there, do you find it interesting to that we're kind of the ones that are basically kind of far behind everybody, but putting out the rules. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
It makes you wonder. Makes you wonder.
Absolutely.
You know, how is it that, I mean, and you, as you know better than anyone, for those that may not know, with Jester and his relationships with the Department of the Treasury, it is the Treasury. I don't know. I don't think I know any other term that I could think of, but is the daddy, the king of the RV, the whole reset.
It should be. Yeah, it should be. At least as far as we're concerned, it's going to be running our show. No doubt about that. It's all tied together.
All tied together. And that's going to segue, folks, into the next article and information that I shared into the room. And this is Goldilocks is sharing. As our friend Jester has been reminding us for years, and here on these calls for the past several Saturday night calls for months, that Treasury Direct accounts will allow us to move money through buying and selling of assets on the internet for anyone choosing to do so. That makes me think also of, just imagine those meetings that Iraq had this past Monday with the CBI and with the U.S. Treasury Department on mobile banking, on digital banking, virtual banking. And here we have, from the Treasury Direct, buying and selling of assets on the internet or anyone choosing to do so. A Treasury Direct account gives you the ability to buy, manage, and redeem eligible Treasury securities via the internet. By accessing your account with your unique account number and password, you can perform the transactions on securities of which you have control, Minor accounts are not available in entity accounts. Because we are moving into an internet banking system, the definition of being a professional trader is changing the landscape. Because we are moving into an internet banking system. Again, what was the meetings that the CBI just had with the Department of Treasury? Internet banking? Connecting dots? This is literally, for those that just may be your first time on this call, this man, Jester, has been telling us this for a long time about Treasury Direct. And I'm going to let him tell you, Jester, the floor is yours, young man. This is your show.
Well, I mean, here's this whole Treasury thing is, something we've known is going to happen. I mean, it's like we were talking in the room the other day. When was that? We had a little impromptu call. It was kind of fun, by the way. And we were talking about, the people were in there were messing with me, and I was kind of messing with them a little bit. Then we had a call. And it was more about, how do you guys see this going down? Because everybody says, well, everybody wants to see gold-backed currency, asset-backed currency, that sort of thing. And I'm thinking to myself, you guys have missed the point on where that actually occurs, because you can't do that at the Fed level. It's got to be the UST. And so it opens up a whole other can of worms in thinking when you realize that fact. And you have to. This is where Jim Willie, I think, comes with the Shice dollar and all that business, the two currency system for a minute and all that. And I think he's right. I think that's where it's going to head as the switchover occurs. I don't think it's going to happen all at once. I think there is going to be two currencies for a minute until they get everybody switched over into the Treasury direct accounts. So I think there's going to be in country currency for a minute, and the one that we use for the trading, would be the gold back entity starting out. So as this starts to come down, then people are going to be, well, what about these banks? What's the function of the banks and whatnot? I mean, the banks aren't going to have your money anymore. The Treasury is going to have your money, but somebody's got to do the facilitation of it. So the banks are still needed, but they're getting into a great deal more control of these banks than ever was before, because they like to make sure that everything's done a certain way. But they're not going to. I mean, the Treasury Direct, if you think about it, it is basically going to replace the Fed. I mean, the Fed doesn't have banks. The Fed doesn't do the banking. The Fed doesn't have your money. But in the future, the Treasury will do that, but they don't have the manpower to facilitate all of the paperwork. So the banks are going to remain. Like you tell people to maintain their relationship with their bankers and stuff. I think that's a great idea, because when this goes down, you're going to have that still. And the better off you are able to work with those guys, the better off you're going to be. And there's going to be some people with questions that have a hard time getting answers because they haven't maintained any kind of a relationship with their banker. So I think the stuff that you're doing with your people over there is really good. But with that said, it's a neat little deal. The whole scenario with the dinar going through the USD, and there's articles out there in the Constitution that require that when that's repatriated, it's got to be repatriated in a gold or an asset. I believe Mason says that he thinks it's just gold, but I'm not sure. It doesn't matter really, as long as it's worth whatever. And so I think that's part of it too. But I see this just another piece of the puzzle that we're picking up, and I like it. It's all going the right direction. There's not been anything so far that didn't go down the path we thought it was going to go. You know what I mean?
Right. Let me ask you this. I think I may have asked you this earlier while you and I were talking. I forget the connection between Basel III and the Treasury Direct. Is it pretty much that this article, for example, whereby October the 1st, effectively, with Basel III, would it mean that we're going? Is it confirmation? I would ask that we're going to Treasury Direct at some point.
Not necessarily, I don't think, because the Basel III is really about the banks. Okay, I mean the internationally set forth rules and regulations according to the Basel III are specifically for the banks. Now that I think the UST will control that. Yes.
Okay. That makes sense. And also, being that, of course, all the banks roll up to the UST. Okay, so got it. That makes sense. Okay. Got it. Now, would you, for anyone new on the call that may not be familiar with Treasury Direct, would you be willing to kind of give them an idea of what it is, so that, because I'm sure a lot of people have never even heard of it, no clue what the Treasury Direct is and how it pertains to us in the new banking system with our exchanges, because they're just not familiar. Can you educate them if you don't mind?
Well, yeah, sure, no problem. If you look up Treasury Direct, what you're going to find is that you can sign up to electronically buy and redeem U.S. savings bonds and things like that. You can get a Treasury Direct account. Now, Robert and I think you already have one, and they just activate it when you come in. But that's another story too. So, we know they exist. We know they exist under our Social Security numbers and our Fed basis numbers. So, everybody has the letters in the upper right upper corner of their birth certificate, and that's what that stuff is a code for which Fed and some other data that they keep on you, and then of
Hmm.
course your numbers your numbers. Everybody has a specific individual number, so it is what it is.
Right.
Um, and those do exist. I mean, we know. Um, well, people might not believe me, but they don't have to. But we know for a fact it does because we took money out of them. So,
Right.
um, you guys might not believe that, but that did happen. And
I heard someone paid
yeah,
off a car.
yeah, right. That was a hell of a night. That was a hell of a funny story too. Um, and so you guys know Skydancer, and Skydancer said, "Well, I'm pay off my car." So he paid off his car, and he was paying a payment and all that, and so he paid off his car. So the weird part was when they clawed the money back, the bank come looking for. He already had the title.
Uh,
They, they, he paid the car off. They sent him the title, right?
uh,
And so the bank came back looking for the rest of the money because the Treasury took it back. And he's sitting there going, "Well, how can you prove that? Do you have the title? Because I think I have the title." And it was some funny stuff. Uh, anyway, I can verify that those do exist. Um, and so it's going to take very little time, I think, for them to switch that over. When
mhm,
when this goes down, it's just going to be I'm not 100%. You'll notice it.
mm,
The
mhm,
the banks are gonna know that something happened and things were moved a little bit, but their interface is just going to be the only thing that changes, I think. Okay,
mhm.
so in other words, there's a bunch of zeros in there, and they don't really have your money in there. You know that, right? And
Right.
it's really just a representation of the money that's in there.
Mhm.
It's not like they got it in the vault over there. But and so I don't think that's going to change much, other than the facilitation of where your money is actually going to be housed at from there on out. So interestingly enough,
Right.
I don't know. We'll
Right.
see.
Got it. Awesome. Thank you for that breakdown. I'm sure that was very informative and educational to a lot of people who never even realized that. Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the #1 source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter.